Please make sure, first thing, it's unplugged from the power. Always the first step. Any plugs and DB25s or optical cables out, you want to have a clear open space. First thing, we're going to take the top cover off. And then a quick note with all the screws with this process is keep them, put them aside. You're going to use the same screws to put it all back together again. There's two types. If you can see this, there's a flat head, which is going to be in the lid and the sides and the bottom. And then there's a round head, which is going to be the modules and option cards. What we're going to be taking out is the Thunderbolt card, swapping that out and replacing the back panel because the access points are different sizes. Take out the connectors first. So what you want to take out is the fan, the word clock, and the power. The Dante card and the module are stationary to the chassis. This will not pull off if those are still connected. So the next step is you're going to have screws on each side, 2 on each side and 3 on the bottom that you're going to take out. Flip it over.
And now, because we've got everything disassembled and unconnected, are we able to pull that panel?
Yes, you can pull it right off.
All right, great. So everything is still hanging in terms of mounting to the rear panel, but all disconnected to the port, so it pulls freely from the rest of the chassis. And the only thing that's left that's connecting it there is that ground, correct?
Yes, so you want to take the ground off. Again, it's actually the same kind of screw, so you hang on to that. Then you have your old panel.
We still have the power, the word clock, and the fan connected to it, but not to any of the access points on the main board.
Absolutely. This is the Thunderbolt card, 2 screws.
All right, so the Thunderbolt card itself.
And then it just slides
the chassis.
right out. Gently just pull it out. If you slide it along these points, you could potentially pull off some of these components, and you don't want to do that in case you want to use it again. So then you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to be careful of the angle because you can scrape off some of those components if you're not too gentle. You're not going to put the screws in yet because you want to make sure that the back panel slides on correctly.
So this is where there's some finesse involved, correct? In order to get this to have correct fitment, you might need to slide a part slightly into place.
Yeah. What you'll need to do is probably jostle this a hair back or forth so that it can slide underneath, and so these ports fit into these access points correctly. If you want to maintain your serial number from your old one, you'll get a blank one. This will be blank. You can take your serial number off and gently put it onto your new back panel if you so choose. The next step is going to be to take the stuff off of this back panel. If you have one of these blanks, you can take that out.
And would it be any different if we had the Dante Pro Tools option card in there?
It would already be off because it would be stuck in the chassis. So you would have taken off those 2 screws and it would be sitting here just like these guys are connected. Yeah, exactly. Okay. There are going to be different screws for these. For the word clock, there's a couple different screws, and these fan screws. The power does not have screws. It has these little tabs that you need to press in and then push through. So there's the word clock. The fan has 4 screws with a small nut. When the fan comes out, you're going to see different parts. You're going to see this grate on the back, the fan itself, and then there's a rubber gasket that is attached to the fan. But you'll see these are those tabs that we're talking about. There's a big tab on the bottom and 2 on the top, or you might see 2 on each side, just depending on how old your chassis is and the version of this power supply. So there's your empty, old backside. So then you're just going to do everything in reverse that we just did. There's no correct order, as long as they all get where they're supposed to be. Word clock you'll put in. The word clock has 2 screws. One is a short screw, just like the other chassis screws. The top screw is going to be a long threaded screw like this that goes into the plastic on the word clock. This is the most difficult one because of the size of these and positioning of these washers and the screws. So just take your time. You want to put the fan in at an angle so that this cable is towards the bottom so that it reaches where it's supposed to get with enough slack. These can be challenging because the space is really small to get them back in, and there isn't necessarily enough room for a wrench or anything like that. Yeah, the fan is the hardest part, honestly. Just because of the size of everything and the angles that you're dealing with. Okay. So once you get one in, that's definitely helpful. I'm leaving a little bit of play so that it can move if it needs to. You also don't want to over tighten them because you will change the size of this gap. And if you do it too far in, this will separate and then we'll just go right through. So it might be easier actually to put the washer over the hole, hold it in place, follow it with the screw. And then you can just hand tighten it. So like I said, you don't overextend. It doesn't take a lot to hold this in place. You just want to make sure it's not flopping around. So there is your newly put back together back panel. If you also have the larger blanks in place because you have one module, you can put this on now if you like. So you'll see this moves around and you want to make sure it gets into the right spot. These are for an adapter you can buy to secure your Thunderbolt cable in there. You can plug into either of these. There isn't necessarily like a primary or secondary. Just choose one and plug it in. Hit one side of the Thunderbolt card to keep it in place. And then take this out because it's hard to reach the other screw through the fan. It fits nice where it's supposed to. It's in the holes correctly. So then we're going to start putting on the chassis sides. And as you're doing this, you just want to make sure that that's still where it's supposed to be correctly. You'll feel it. If it's not going where it's supposed to be, you'll see the holes are not lining up. You want to put that ground back in. It's going to be the same one of those round head screws. Then you're going to reconnect everything. So the word clock cable, this tab should be up. It'll slide right on. Ta-da. Same thing with the power cable. You'll see it can only go one way. The tabs are going to be next to each other. And then the fan is going to go same way. And then recommend you tug this cable in. Just in between so it doesn't flop around and affect anything. So everything should be there and your back panel is done. Reattach your module screws.
Lovely.
Your chassis together, and then the last thing would be to reattach your top. Then you're going to put your top back together again. There's 14 screws. Voila.